Welcome to Into the Light. I'm your host, Edina Mauvana. Today we have Kay Crystal Griffith. She's a Jesus-loving, sweet tea drinking Renaissance woman, empowering medical mom warriors with health, healing, and hope, really advocating for them and their medically complex kiddos to thrive. Crystal walks with clients through deployments, life-threatening allergies, autoimmune diseases, cancer, traumatic brain injuries, concussions, marriage difficulties, abuse, PTSD, reactive attachment disorders, all kinds of different disorders. And they really have an impact on their life and the ones that she works with. So she's a certified health healing practitioner and business coach. Thank you so much, Crystal, for being here. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much. I am so looking forward to our conversation. This is going to be great.
Yeah, I'm so excited too because I was hearing about your work. We were just talking about the Global Women's Summit. I know March was Women's Empowerment Month and it was a crazy 80-hour live summit.
It was
And I had a
great.
chance to hear you talk and a couple others. And I think the first thing I heard was a story about you having all this medical equipment in your home and trying to figure out what to do with it and creating a creative business idea around how to help serve others with the medical equipment, right?
Yes, you do not realize how much you have until you move. And then you're like, oh, it's a whole room's worth.
Yeah, amazing. And so, how did you really get into the work? Tell me a little bit about what brought all that medical equipment into your life and how you had to work with your own kids and heal through so many of these issues, and then how it brought you into the coaching and entrepreneur world yourself.
Oh, that's a great question, how I got started. So really, it started before I even realized it was starting, and that was with me as a patient. I was in a car accident over 30 years ago, woke up with a headache that did not want to quit, figured out that I had a traumatic brain injury 30 years ago. That was more of a pat on the leg, go home, sleep off the pain, you'll be okay. It's just a little headache, right? Now, with the MRI, the imagery, they realized that I actually had a brain bleed. And from there, it took 4 years of just seeing over 48 doctors and advocating to the best ability that I could. And I really began to realize we are broken in so many ways in our healthcare system, which I'm sure that's a conversation you have often. And I realized also that there was a reason for it. Like, why was I losing my life dream? I hadn't been accepted to Boston University for a PhD program and I had to surrender it. Brand new newlywed, 4 months into my brand new marriage. And I had just graduated from college. And how was I going to have a career now? I didn't even know what my name was. And there were oftentimes the pain was so extreme that I could do nothing but literally pass out from it. It was insane. That kind of led me down a road I wasn't expecting, and I was just trying to get my life back. Began teaching, went on for my master's, got through some of that literally with a healing miracle on my head, which was an amazing story in itself.
Yeah.
And then had a kiddo by the grace of God, because I wasn't supposed to have one after that traumatic brain injury.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that was after 10 years of infertility. And so when we had her, she was already causing some fun in utero, going footling breech. If those don't know, that means 1 foot up and 1 foot down,
Yeah.
doing the splits. So she was an automatic C-section. And then she was jaundice in the Rockies. That is very well standard for kiddos to come out jaundice. So that wasn't a big issue at that point. But then at 9 months, we gave her a little piece of egg, maybe the size of my fingernail, my pinky fingernail. And she immediately started vomiting, anaphylactic, couldn't breathe. And
Oh,
that began really her journey. Food allergies, concussions, balance and spatial issues. She has over 24 diagnoses. She's 19. If you look at her, you would not have a clue.
wow.
Not a clue. And she's twice gifted on the spectrum and has this ridiculous Mensa IQ. And we realized, interestingly enough, that her dad, who was in the military, had received 3 rounds of anthrax shots when all that was happening, well before we got pregnant. And we can now directly tie back several of her major diagnoses that are not in the families anywhere to him receiving those shots.
Oh,
And you just don't realize. And I don't want to debate the merits of vaccinations and stuff like that at this point,
yeah.
but you realize how much comes through of what we're ingesting, and you have no idea. So kiddo, God bless her, has a rollator and a wheelchair and crutches, and we have one of those big IKEA Kallax 9x9 kind of units full of medical supplies.
Yeah.
And that's how we got to that room. But it's been a blessing in many ways because people have gotten diagnosed with things they didn't even know about because we've walked through it. And we've gotten to share our medical supplies with
Yeah.
multiple friends who we have a lot of friends who have hip surgeries for some
Oh,
reason.
right. Yeah.
They come and they use our walker and our wheelchairs and all that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, good. People are using it. And then we have it if we need it. And sometimes there are days that she does, and then there are days that she doesn't. Like we're going up to DC this weekend to see the beautiful cherry blossoms. They're in bloom. Never actually seen those on the East Coast. So we're going to go up, and I'm like, okay, what do we need to pack for 24 hours? And that becomes, at times, it feels like a whole trailer.
Yeah, and it's a lot of planning, it's a lot of organizing your life and needs around the special needs situation, and it sounds like you just had to tackle each new situation like one step at a time approach. Tell me about how you taking on these challenges really translates for like the work that you do with women and business and having to be organized and make sure everything is running on schedule with all the juggling so much.
In 2020, the big 2020 for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Funny story that we actually had it at December 2019 and it didn't have a name. And it was right after the Air Force Academy had 400 cadets come
Yeah,
down
no
with this
one knew any of
thing.
that. It's still right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So our 2020 started with that. She started having some what we now call long haul COVID symptoms with POTS and dysautonomia. She got diagnosed with those at that point. Non-epileptic seizures. She got diagnosed with those during that time. So around the June timeframe, she was dancing in our living room and she kicked up and all of a sudden I heard her fall into the floor and cry out. And I was just in the next room in my office and I ran out. I'm like, what is going on? She's like, I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't feel your legs? And she is like sobbing. And she literally could not feel from her waist down. And at this point, I had started to create the first Medical Mom Warrior Summit. It was supposed to go 2 weeks later, and I had to postpone it because we had no idea what was happening with her. She had all the medical testing. They gave her an initial diagnosis of something called functional neurological disorder, FND. The old name of it is called the conversion disorder because they don't know what it is. I find that it's a catch-all diagnosis when they don't know what's
When they
wrong.
don't know, yeah.
And I got very actively involved in F&D very quickly, trying to help my kiddo, who at that point was 14 going into 15. And we had to immediately move her room from downstairs to the main floor because she couldn't do stairs. We had to buy all this medical equipment. We had to buy an adjustable bed, like things that you don't even realize that you need very quickly because you have no idea how long it's going to last. And it took 9 months for her to get her feeling back. And it was so severe that you literally could have taken a knife and stabbed her in the leg. She would not have felt it. There were times that she accidentally burnt her leg because she had put a hot thing by it and didn't realize how close it was. And the nerves versus the motor, that was very interesting to learn those two things. We have motor nerves and feeling nerves. And both of hers, she got more motor back before she got feeling back. And when all of that was happening, I began to really see getting involved with F&D really the lack of advocacy skills that were being taught and how many, especially with these rare diagnoses,
Yeah.
they don't know. And they're all so overwhelmed by what is this? How am I going to live? How am I going to survive? My child was a child, but what if that had happened to me? How would I have taken care of her? At that point, single mom, her dad was around at that point, but we were divorced. And he's not an active parent from that perspective. Medical, he tends to shy away from.
Mm.
So when you really think about how can I translate these skills that I'm having to learn so quickly to other people, that's really what Medical Mom Warriors became. And it didn't really
Hmm.
formalize until really in the last year, other than just the summits. I did 2 summits. I was helping people on the side, but then understanding they needed really one-on-one journey, that's when the program, the Warrior program, became available, and really understanding the membership. We're working on a database right now for collective sharing. For example, one of the diagnoses my kiddo received, and actually we now know is that what affected part of what happened to her that June, is called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a connective tissue
Oh,
disorder, extremely rare. It has 15 subspecialties. 14 of them are genetically involved. One is not. Of course, my kiddo has the one that's not. And
wow.
so it's the party trick one where you can bend the thumbs back, you can pull the skin up,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can hyperextend your legs and your elbows, those kind of things. Anybody who's
Yeah.
double jointed probably has Ehlers-Danlos.
Yeah. Flexibility in joints.
Very hyper flexibility. So we figured out
Yeah.
that between that, and we found out about 2 years after that, June, she has hip dysplasia from doing the splits in utero. Took 16 years to get that diagnosis. It's like craziness.
Wow.
And between those two, that's actually what caused her to go paralyzed. When she kicked up, the hip shifted, it rolled over one of the nerves, the connective tissue couldn't undo itself. But it took almost four
Wow.
years for us to put that together. The doctors never did.
Yeah.
So sharing those stories and explaining to other people, people have now gotten diagnosed on the spectrum as adults. People have got diagnosed with celiac because she has celiac. That was one of her big diagnoses for a long time. They've been diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos. They've been diagnosed with other ADHD. I was thinking of the
Yeah.
other A word. A variety of things that, in a way, have redeemed my poor child going through all of these chaotic events because they've been helpful to other people to get wisdom, resources, tools, and tips.
Yeah. So that's really with the what you put together. Obviously, it's a lot of advocacy and the rare diseases and bringing together people with shared stories and like finding those such a huge breath of fresh air, I imagine, to be able to connect with someone who can relate when no one else can. And that's really what I like to hear and what you're building. So you called it the Warrior Signature Movement, is that right? For
The
your
Warrior Signature Program,
program? Yeah.
WARRIOR. Yep, Warrior for medical mom warriors.
Medical Mom Warriors. Okay, great. And so you're working now with women one-on-one and as well as in a community setting, is that right?
I am, yeah. So we have a membership. It's dirt cheap, and I did it on purpose, and I
Yeah,
don't want to raise the price because these families already have so much financial pressure. A lot of times these families are trying so hard to get the answers they're willing to pay for the holistic. I myself, $70,000 into medical help for the kiddo. And so anything that we could do, and those were not just things that I had laying around, like that's credit card debt to get her to a place that she could thrive in the capacity that she can. Right. So if there was a holistic tool, a red light pad, a grounding pad, a frequency unit,
yeah,
STEM activation patches, human performance technology, e-smarter sleeves, like all of these types of tools, they all cost. And so where are those funds going to come from? So when I designed the membership for that advocacy piece, I wanted to keep it ridiculously low because I want them in there. I want them getting the support and the help that they need. And then at the point that they want to walk through the Warrior program, then let's have that conversation. Because the more that we can support them in that capacity, the more people that they're going to refer in because they know the value that they're receiving in that membership.
yeah,
And my hope is this will become an active global membership because that database that's being driven by us as people who have these things happening,
yeah.
that's going to not only help other people, but it's going to help the medical professionals. Because when they don't have an idea, I'm thinking about what is her name? I think it's Dr. Erin Nance, Nance. She's out of the University of Virginia, and she's got a
Uh-huh.
ton of reels. And she talks a lot about same things I do. And I love her dearly. So shout out to her. But we are going to UVA for a referral here real soon. And I'm going to look her up because I'd love for her to get involved, because that collaboration with other doctors to understand, hey, we as the people enduring these symptoms, these ideas.
That's what I was going to say when you were talking at the summit, I really loved how you were also mentioning there's holistic approaches, there's naturopathic approaches, there's the traditional approaches. We don't want to exclude any one area, right? It's about integrating the right approach at the right time. And that's different for everyone, right? Some people, they don't want to lean into the medical system like at all. They want to only cure, but some people really only will do the opposite with prescription drugs or whatever the doctors are prescribing. So yeah, tell me a little bit about how you really walk a fine line between collaborating and making these things effective at each stage. Because like you said, the holistic things are also expensive and medical insurance doesn't cover that, but other things are covered, right?
Correct. And I think there is an insurance shift that is happening. Some
Yeah.
things are on the horizon, fingers crossed, because I think they're realizing, and you probably saw the movement that started maybe 15 years ago about preventative medicine, right?
Yeah,
We're
like
willing to now pay for preventative
the
testing.
HMO model is even around that is in general.
And those are all amazing and good. What I find is the preventative testing that they want to do can also cause harm at times. So, for example, we had breast cancer on both sides of my family. So, I had to start mammograms extremely early, like in my 20s. They suggest not to start until 35. By the
Yeah,
time
a
I
lot
hit
of radiation.
35,
Yeah.
I probably had 6 of them. What no one told me was I should have had the thyroid shield on every time I had a mammogram. I have goiters now on my thyroid, which are
Mhm.
nodules. And there's other reasons. I don't know if you heard that part of my story, but in my marriage, there was some domestic violence and I was strangled. And so that also causes goiters. So when you look at modern medicine and what it can do, we do need to learn what about those after effects, right? So that thyroid shield is preventative. And so now I'm an active advocate. Anytime I hear somebody saying I'm going to get a mammogram, ask for the thyroid shield. Make sure you ask for the thyroid shield. And I had one person say, oh, they said it wouldn't affect it. I said, please ask for the thyroid shield. There is proof that it causes these issues. So how do we then collaborate? And I think that's where it comes down to hearing the patient stories, hearing those symptoms that we've had from the test, from what's been happening, right? Seeing the effects of the shot from 2020, right?
Yeah.
In all of those pieces. And how now do we serve that community well? Because they need to be detoxed from a holistic standpoint,
Yeah.
terribly detoxed. And that detox can help. We're also seeing the fact that particular piece of medicine caused some cognitive dysfunction, which is
Right.
now leading to many people having effects of dementia. I actually brought that up to one of my family members who has recently been diagnosed with dementia because I
Yeah.
said, you got that. Would you consider doing a detox? Let's see if we can detox the heavy metals out of your system and see if that helps you. It's not going to hurt
Yeah.
you, could only help you. I think that's why I love holistic medicine so
Yeah.
much, because it is, I'm not going to say it's 100% not adverse, but I think we are as close to 100% as you can get if it's truly holistic.
We can all use a good detox of the heavy metals and
Right?
it's so important and we're all learning finally about the gut brain health and
Right.
the reasons why this is having an impact on something like dementia if you're not detoxing heavy metals from your body. Yeah, it's so important to look at that approach. And yeah, I just love the work you do, Crystal Griffith. I think we should send everyone to the Medical Mom Warriors website. So tell me, where can people find you if they want to know more of their, because you know what? It's April is Autism Spectrum Awareness
Mhm.
Month, correct? I'm so
Mhm.
glad that we had the opportunity to hit on these important issues because everything is so interrelated. And I just wanted to acknowledge the work you do and the ways that we can help prevent and address the awareness around this issue, right? So tell me where people can find you if they want to learn more or join in with the Medical Mom Warriors. Where's the best place to go to find you?
So I have it. Oh, I'm pointing to the wrong way.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
one way
Your link.
is the link
Okay.
tree right there. Linktree/ kcrystalgriffith.com. And on there, you will find several of the other opportunities that I've had to speak. I actually need to upload my new Times Square bulletin board that I was
Yeah.
on for that big event. That was like shocking. And then you'll also see the book that I was in, Women of Purpose, that released in November. I have a second book coming out that I'm in called Seek the Heart. We book launch April 26th. That's very exciting. And they can actually join the membership. And again, dirt cheap, $7.77. Guys, that is less than my chai tea latte at our favorite Green Lady place, right? Because that's the only thing I drink there.
That
And now, if you want some good freebies, I will also tell you I have a Stan store. So that's stan.store forward
is
slash medical mom warriors, medical
okay.
mom warriors for the Stan store. And in there, you're going to find some of the free opportunities that I gave away at that big event this weekend. So there's a hope infused action planner in there. There is a seasonal purpose 7-day guide, really talking about the purposes that we have in each of our seasons. I don't think anyone was born for just one purpose. I think we find purposes in each season that we're in. So that kind of guides you through that. And then there's just some other amazing tools in there. Love to have them join us on our retreat in October. We're doing a authentic living caregiving retreat right at the beach. It's going to be awesome. And this
Wow.
is not like your normal retreats. We are not there to inundate you with more information. We are there to love on you because as a caregiver, we
They
do not get
need the
enough
love.
love.
Anyone caregiving right now, it needs to hear this, right? I feel like everyone has a family member, mother, father, sibling, everyone who's dealing with a caregiving situation. And so much of that toll that's being taken on our mental health is the only way to fix it is through a nice retreat.
And we actually, one of my good friends is a chef, and she's agreed to fly out from Colorado to be at the retreat full time. She's going to make
Oh,
all our meals. She's amazing. And we have also Dr. Lynette Sim that's going to be there. She wrote a book, And the Day Came, that got made into an award-winning documentary, Tear Stained Forgiveness. And it's actually being made into a movie with some
oh,
big names in it.
okay, great.
That's exciting. So she's going to be there speaking. And we just want to love on everybody. So often we just need a bowl of popcorn and a good drink and a good book and just quiet.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to going all the time. We're so used to being on all the time. And that hyper alertness to listening for our name as caregivers, really, sleep is a luxury for people who caregive. And a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, oh, but your kid was at her dad's for the weekend. Yes. And the weekends that she is, trust me, I get a 3 a.m. phone call for something.
Yes, it's 24/7 when you're a mom, no matter what.
That is a true statement. It is. And loving on people is so important because we can teach them the value of self-care. It is a requirement. It's not a luxury. It's
Mm.
not overspending. It's not selfish. It is a requirement. Just like the oxygen mask on you first before you help anybody else. You have to.
Yeah, so it's so true. And really that being a biggest part of our own spiritual journeys as well with the self-care, self-love, and everything that we do end up healing, I think comes from that place. If it's even when we're doing the different methods or whatever, whatever healing does comes through that place of slowing down, loving yourself first, and working on things from there. So I love that. Hey, Crystal, thank you so much. And
Thank
any
you.
final thoughts or words of wisdom before we wrap up and things you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up?
I think your audience is perfect to remember chaos does not mean negativity. Chaos is just an opportunity for hope to shine through.
Oh,
And I just want to encourage them that even in the valleys, there are mountaintops in those valleys. And remembering where that hope is allows you the opportunity to get to that mountaintop even when you're in the valley.
Yes, keeping the hope, keeping the light going when even when we're in the darkest times. I love that so much. Thank you, Crystal, for being here and being a part of this important month and awareness for us. And I'm glad to help get people over to your membership, your website, all the information that you have so that it can help everyone with the issues with these rare diseases, disorders, and especially helping with the caretakers and the loved ones that are here to support that mission. So thank you so
Thank
much
you
for all
so
you do.
much for having me.
Yeah.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.